Hello everybody. You guys ready to walk and talk? I thought I'd give you some amazing and beautiful scenery this morning. I am working on location and wanted to make sure we get a little exercise today. So let's go ahead and let's start walking and talking. So first thing I want to know is how many of you out there are going to use this time to kick off a little exercise with me. I don't mind if you're on a treadmill or a recumbent bike or walking up and down the stairs at your apartment. Whoa, I almost fell down a little. Just don't fall. Or walking circles around your kitchen island. I just want to make sure that you're moving a little bit today. And I want to talk while we're walking a little bit about kind of breaking through plateaus and some really cool metabolism tips, success boosters, things that I've learned in the process of working in a clinic for, 20 something plus years. So who out there is going to exercise with me this morning? Who's getting it all started? Who's going to join me on this journey this morning? I want to hear what you're doing. And so let's first talk a little bit about exercise. So exercise needs to be strategic, in my opinion, and you need to feed yourself like an athlete when you're exercising. So the first thing that I always tell you is don't fast before going fast. So what I mean by that is make absolutely sure that you have had something to eat prior to working out. The reason that I say this, and I know that it's contrary to some of the things trending like fasting diets, or what they used to call back in my day starvation diets. But when you exercise, your body accesses sugar that we store in the muscle in the form of glycogen. And glycogen is a really cool thing to burn because it is an easy access storage of sugar, great for crisis hormones. That's why sometimes if you ever get scared or really, really stressed, you'll actually feel like kind of shaky and quivery in your muscle. It's because your body's grabbed and accessed that sugar storage. But if you can have some natural sugars, either in the form of a complex carb, like even a sweet potato or brown rice, or even a complex carb from carrots or a vegetable that's phase specific, and maybe some natural sugars from a fruit that's phase or program specific, your body can begin to metabolize those foods more efficiently during your exercise to extract the micronutrients from those foods and the natural sugars. So when it extracts the glycogen from the muscle, that glycogen or sugar storage doesn't have that cascade of phytonutrients that a carrot has. And it's those phytonutrients, it's those extra little worker bees that come out of a carrot, not just the sugar, but the vitamin C and all the antioxidants and the rutin and the bioflavonoids that come from grapefruits and oranges and lemons and limes that actually make the metabolism have what it needs to heal and rebalance itself. So straight sugar, even stored from muscle in the form of glycogen, is life-saving, crisis intervention, and can sustain life. But it isn't the nutrient that's going to heal something that's broken. So if you don't eat and you work out, you do eat, like I always say, you're just having a bicep sandwich. You're eating or consuming the sugar from the muscle and the liver, don't forget, to sustain life. However, that doesn't have a bounty full of micronutrients in it to actually heal the metabolism. So that's why I don't want you to fast before going fast. The other thing, as we talk about exercise, that I wanted to talk about today, give you a little beauty shot, is making sure that you don't secrete stress hormones when you work out. So really try to be somewhere that is either, incredibly visually stimulating or calming. Put on music that makes you have joy, whether it's Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, I don't care who it is, Gwen Stefani, your favorite country western singer, maybe Miranda Lambert, Dolly Parton, Hank Williams Jr., whatever brings you joy. Make sure that you're stimulating visually and auditorily during your exercise process. Maybe it's listening to a podcast. We're going to get ready to release a podcast. Very excited about that. But that will help you stay in fat burning mode before you stay in fat storage mode when you exercise. It's really good too to check your heart rate through your exercise process. Some people use those fancy watches that do it, or the bands that go around the chest. You can simply use a timer and check your heart rate by testing your pulse also. But ideally, we'd like to keep it sustained kind of under that 35 to 45 is ideal. When you start to get your heart rate, now this is when you're working on healing the metabolism. When you start to get your heart rate above 145, the body signals a little bit of increase or elevation in cortisol. So again, if you're pushing yourself and you're going, gosh, I feel like I could push myself harder, but my heart rate keeps going up past 145, doesn't mean that you don't want to push yourself. It means that we need to put more supporting things to lower the cortisol level during that process. So you can do things like practice alternate nostril breathing for 1 minute in between an intense cardio burst. That is a phenomenal way for me to get people to really push the envelope cardio, but keep their body from turning into the cascade of hormones that stimulate fat proliferation. That's a great one. The other thing is, again, by having something visually calming or auditorily calming that will help lower those stress hormones. How's it going? Trying to visually stimulate a reduction in your stress hormones this morning. So that's kind of tip number 2 when we talk about the metabolism and exercising. The other thing is kind of feeding yourself around the type of exercise that you do. So again, when you're healing your metabolism, let's talk about weightlifting for a moment. I really am always trying to trigger the right hormone cascade when I'm creating a workout and food prescription for my clients. And like I said, as I was working on location right now, this week, it really made me think a lot about what we modify with weightlifting, both with food and the style in which we lift weights, in order to get an increased rate of fat burn. And so sometimes I'll come into a situation and we'll do, our health wish list and our self-assessment questionnaire, and we'll start to create a request for care. And sometimes the person that we're integrating into the team, for lack of a better way to describe it, is actually going to be like a trainer or some sort of a health coach or something. And so we'll start to look at the body and how we want to sculpt the body. We're looking at the physical aspect of the body. And I'm thinking about the physical aspect of the fat cells. And so when I'm trying to really work on modifying the structure of the body, I work a lot with the Metabolism Revolution program spiced in to the fast metabolism diet. So remember, a lot of us are getting ready to do a week of the FMD supported, where we're all going to do it together starting on Monday. Your homework during that week, I'm giving you guys a little advanced warning, is going to be rereading the Metabolism Revolution book and content, and looking at the first half of the book, which is about the Metabolism Revolution program, and the second half of the book, which is Fast Metabolism for Life. Because one thing that I noticed, not just in our community, but with my clients and family and friends also, was that when we have kind of a disruption in our regular life, whether it be a pandemic viral outbreak or civil unrest or heartbreak over things that are going on in our society right now, is that you might feel like you don't have the resources or the tools to stay on an exact program. And that second half of that book gives you all kinds of tools, though, for when life is happening to you and you don't necessarily feel in control of your situation metabolically or for your metabolism. So when we're on the FMD, we're going to actually be studying Metabolism Revolution. And Metabolism Revolution works a lot on the anatomy and on the anatomy of the metabolism, and Fast Metabolism Diet works a lot on the physiology of the metabolism. So one is structure, the other is movement or hormones. So when we're talking about working out with weights, and I really encourage this on phase 2, but I also definitely encourage it on the cleanse, as long as you're also doing a lot of things that promote sweating and movement of the blood and dry skin brushing. But you want to make sure that the weights are heavy enough that you create a little micro tear in the muscle. Because when you do create that micro tear, the hormones that stimulate repair, the washing of the lactic acid, not allowing it to build up, and repair of that smooth muscle are very important in shrinking fat cells themselves. And remember, when a fat cell is stretched out, I always say it's like we're doing fall cleanup at the ranch and the trash bags are really full. And so I tell my husband, grab more trash bags. When the fat cells are stretched out, we ask for more fat cells. If we can stimulate the shrinking of the fat cells, then we don't need more fat cells. We don't ask for more garbage bags, right? So when you're working out and you're doing weights, I want you to think about this from breaking a plateau. If you can do, 10 or 12 reps, it's not heavy enough. It needs to be like 8, and you're going, oh my gosh, Haylie, I'm so mad at you. Make sure that you've got good posture and you're supported so you don't hurt yourself. And then your second rep, you should barely be able to get 6. And by your third set, you should barely be able to get 4 or 3. That's when you know you're to that point of stressing the smooth muscle to evoke the metabolism enhancing hormones. So those are just a couple of plateau busters that I wanted to talk about with exercise. I also wanted to make sure who's out there moving. How are you moving this morning? You should probably do this for a good, I'm going to pick up the pace so I can move things along a little bit. I'm going to check my heart rate, might do a little stop and do a little alternate nostril breathing. Be kind of cool here. And I'm going to use the tips. I'm going to incorporate some weights. I definitely did not fast before going fast. Today I had my metabolism shake before I headed out here. And I'd like to know what you guys are doing. So just a little check-in this morning, just making sure you're getting your exercise. Make sure that you're getting visually stimulated, auditorily stimulated, considering alternate nostril breathing, and We're gonna also do a little bit of study coming up on dry skin brushing. And especially if you're working on trouble zones, areas that you don't feel like you're scavenging really efficiently, the dry skin brushing tips are gonna be amazing, and a tool that you can even use pre-exercise to be more efficient with your efforts. All right, guys, just a little check-in this morning. I will see you again tomorrow morning, but please, not from necessarily an accountability perspective, but I would love to know what you're doing today to get your exercise in, and what you're eating to make sure that you're feeding your metabolism in the process. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. One last little panoramic view, and I'm back. I'm gonna book it back to work. Bye, guys.